But God will not reveal his vision that he has for your life to a baby, to an immature, lukewarm child. Sometime last year, I would wake up hyperventilating. This had been going on for months. And at the beginning of the year, I felt lost. I felt empty. I felt like my life was out of control. Circumstances couldn't have been better. I was earning 3 times more than I've ever earned in my life. I had financial security. I had time to be with my family because I was working remote. Even though I didn't want to not live, I didn't mind not living because I didn't feel like my life had any purpose. I literally was in a dream job and that didn't satisfy me, and I couldn't see a future. I felt trapped, even though I couldn't possibly have been more endowed with resources. And I know people around me look at my life and they went, at such an age you managed to accomplish so much, and I felt nothing. One day in the middle of the night, I listened to the song Yet, the song, and I remember just crying out to God, being like, God, I am unhappy. It was a guttural cry from my soul because I could feel my soul crying out to God and just being like, God, I'm unhappy. And I bargained with God that night. I said, God, I will prioritize you. I will put you first if you can take this away from me. He said, I'll do you one better. I will take away your burdens, your pain, your suffering. In addition, I'm going to give you a hope for a future. I'm going to give you a plan for your life that is going to bring you joy and purpose. Immediately, I'm thinking of all the personal goals that I have, and I'm like, if I put God first, I'm going to advance in my career. If I put God first, the things that I've dreamed of, and I'm going to be satisfied. So I'm going to pursue my personal goals at the same time and prioritize God. So my expectation was, I just need a few months to prioritize God. I'm going to start seeing the fruits of that. I'm going to start seeing my personal goals come to fruition. I didn't see the list of things that I said to God I wanted to see as part of this bargain. Prince Charming didn't come riding in a horse to save me, no. In fact, I lost the job and I didn't have the financial blanket. So I experienced lots of moments where I was like, maybe I made this whole thing up. Maybe there wasn't a conversation with God where I would bargain with him. I started to doubt. I started to think, well, what if I'm just meant to be in this space that is fruitless? I think I'm being fruitless because the things that are on my list are not happening. I've always known God. My whole life I've always known God. But this was different. The truth is, I knew God, but I was lukewarm. When he said prioritize me, I just thought, well, read your Bible, find a church, get back into fasting, go back into prayers, that kind of stuff. I thought, well, I know God, I'm going to do that. But what he was asking me is for something so much more. Deep down, I knew God placed something in me, rooted in my spirit, something that had nothing to do with my upbringing, surrounding circumstances. It did nothing to do with the interactions that I had with people, and everything to do with a sense of identity that I came on this earth with. I've always had a clear sense of right or wrong. Doesn't matter what stage in life I'm at, I've always had that sense of right and wrong. Sometimes that made for a lot of socially awkward situations. Because while everybody's doing what they're doing, I could sense a feeling of duty to respect that inner voice that tells me what's right and what's wrong. And sometimes it's louder and other times it's not. But almost always I have a clear sense of what to do and when to do it. But it made me stick out. So I would ignore it. Even with the people in the same household as I didn't have that sense of, a distinct sense of, we shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that. I'm not gonna do that. I was ashamed because it made me stick out. I was ashamed because I couldn't fit in. And so for as long as I can remember, I've tried to fit in. But what it meant was that I started to walk around aimlessly. I started to walk around with no purpose. God has a vision for your life. I had a calling, and I ran away from that calling. And what it led me was to feel aimless, purposeless, and empty. When your calling meets with God's vision, you have purpose. But God will not reveal the vision that He has for your life to a baby, to an immature, lukewarm child. Today's key verse from our reading plan, from milk to meat, is Hebrews 5 verse 12 to 14. And I'm going to read it to you. By this time, you ought to be teachers yourselves. Yet here I find you. You need someone to sit down with you and go over the basics of God's ways again, starting from square one, like a baby on milk, when you should have been on solid food long ago. Milk is for beginners, inexperienced in God's ways, but solid food is for the mature, who have practiced in telling right from wrong. Calling is milk, solid food, God's vision for your life. And calling is that feeling, that sense of, I already know deep down inside of me what is right, what is wrong, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. I already know this, but I'm inexperienced in God's ways. I haven't put it into practice. And your calling is something that the inner man convicts you of. So something that lies inside of you that just convicts you. That's your calling, and that is the milk part. And God's vision for your life is the meat. And this is how my pastor put it to me. This is a clear mental image of your future, imparted by God, based on an accelerated understanding of God, which means there's a growing process. In that season is when you will understand God's vision for your life, because that's when He reveals it to you. He will not reveal it to you when you are a baby. But if you're wondering why your personal goal and your purpose are not meeting, or they don't seem intertwined, or you have no idea what your purpose is outside of the things that are your personal vision, your career, your family, finance, wealth, health, outside of that you don't know what your purpose is, I think it's time for you to accelerate your understanding of God's ways. AKA, I think it's time for you to go from milk to meat.